viewers, and welcome to the Legal Talk Show, proudly brought to you by Say What, with support from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. I'm your host, Panashe Batamoto, but as usual, you can call me the Dynamite. And today in the studio of choice, we'll be discussing on the dark side of ICT, especially on adolescents. And joining me to spearhead this discussion are two gentlemen whom I'm going to give the opportunity to introduce themselves, starting with you, sir.
Thank you so much, Panashe. My name is Filippo Chaiba. I work for Potras as a consumer affairs manager.
Okay, and you?
Thank you, Panashe. My name is Rodney Mpanduki. I'm a student, final year student at our Institute of Technology, studying computer science.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on the Legal Talk Show today. All right. So maybe before we get into the gist of the discussion, we really want to understand, for the benefit of our audience, what really is ICT. So maybe I could start with you, sir.
Yeah, ICT means information and communication technologies. And ICTs, as they are, it's very broad. We can look at the traditional ICTs, like there is the television, there is the radio, there is the fixed telephone, etc. That's part of ICTs. Then we can also look at the revolution that took place within the ICT. Now we have got the mobile technology. Now we have got a connection to the internet. And now we are also talking of Internet of Things. That is, we are having devices that are interconnected using the internet, and they are doing wonderful things for our lives. So that is ICT, if I can say in brief.
Okay, thank you so much for that. And maybe in your own words, if you could please define what ICT is, if you want to put it in vernacular, maybe for the benefit of those that do not understand English. ICT.
I think it's difficult for me to put into Shona, but I think Seth did a very good job in terms of summarizing what it is, because it's a broad topic. But basically, it's just the use of technology in our everyday use.
Okay, so the interesting part of it is when ICT came in. Let's look at maybe social media platforms whereby ICT has been used on a good side. There's so many benefits that came with ICT, but then it seems as if there are also the negative part of it that has not been discussed, because people don't want to talk about it. As people sometimes only want to mention the good things about something, and then we want to now to come down and discuss about the negatives. People don't usually want to discuss about it because maybe they say, maybe we're not. As children, maybe we are even told not to use my gadgets because so maybe I want to understand from you as a student, what are the negative side of the ICT, the dark side that you see as a student?
Okay, thank you. That's a very good question. Technology or ICT is actually a tool, and just like any other tool, it can be dangerous if not used correctly. Yeah, there are a lot of dark sides that I don't know. Are you asking this question in terms of education or just in general?
Just in general question,
right.
Yeah.
There are a lot of negative effects that can come with the use of this technology. For example, just to start with, we can talk of like the addictions, the addictions with these gadgets themselves. Technology itself is also responsible for release of, if we're talking about the biology system, it releases a chemical called dopamine, which is responsible for the reward system. It's what makes us feel good when we do something. So the use of this technology, it was noted that it also produces the same effect. Like, that's why you feel good when you receive a text. That's why you feel good when you have engagement on your social media posts. But this chemical is highly addictive. It's the very same chemical that is released when you smoke, when you drink, when you gamble. But if you look at it, we've got age restrictions for alcohol, we've got age restrictions for gambling, but we don't have age restrictions for things like gadgets and social media. So now we have a generation that is so addictive to these gadgets that they can't do without them, and they tend to turn to these gadgets when they have a problem instead of turning to a real person. So this has really produced a generation that is, I believe, lonely And that's why we have suicide cases going high. We have got mass murders, we've got people who are depressed. And just like any other form of addiction, what do you do when you're depressed because of that? If you're depressed because of alcohol, you drink alcohol, but then you're more depressed, you drink more. So they just tend to these gadgets, and it's just more and more and more. So I also believe it has contributed to things that we are having problem with. For example, what I've mentioned here, depression and the likes, even like substance abuse, because we're taking that from social media, we're taking that from online. So in as much as it's a good tool, it also has its negative effects. We can even go to schools. It has even caused this increase in cheating, plagiarism, things like that. So as long as it's not managed correctly, there are a lot of negative effects that has to do with this technology.
All right, thank you so much for that, and that was profound. But I want to understand from your own point of view, what is the bad side of ICT? And can you also maybe, because you're also a parent, right? So we want to understand from your own parental perspective, what also is the bad side of maybe ICT from what you're observing as a parent?
Okay, thank you, Panache. Yeah, ICTs, of course, they have got benefits which would outweigh the negative. But however, as you have indicated, we are dwelling on the negative aspects of the ICTs. Yes, there are negative aspects of ICTs. Previously, when they were not so ubiquitous, these ICTs, we used to, if you wanted information, you go to the library, read your books, get the information, submit some assignments if you are a student, and so forth. And also you go to the watch television or listen to the radio. And whatever was in the books, whatever was in the radio, whatever was on television, it may have been edited. And then it's authentic in most cases. Now come the ICTs. We are talking of the internet. We are talking of the social media. No one is there to supervise what is posted there. You go to Facebook, you go on Twitter, you read what is there, you take it as it is. And there is a lot of misinformation, misleading information. And people would now dwell or make decisions based on those misinformation. And that is the dark side of ICTs. Again, ICTs, yes, there are good aspects, like they make us meet wherever they are, via be it Facebook and so forth. However, now it is killing the social aspect of life. That personal touch, where you come face to face and discuss with people, is actually going down. People, when they are seated, everyone is glued to his or her own gadget. So it means there is some form of individualism. There is nothing like collective social aspect. You only speak via the ICT gadgets. That is again another dark side of ICTs. You talk of the students as parents. Well, we want students to utilize ICTs to their advantage. But at times, instead of reading, there are sites which have got pornographic material. And you know, like what I was saying of the traditional ICTs, they would say no under 18, like you was talking of. No under 16 to view this film or so. But now, in as far as the ICTs, you go to the social network, you are just 10 years, you are just 8 years, you view together with the adults. That is again the bad aspect. The students, instead of say reading, possibly they are just glued to the websites where there are pornographic materials or videos there, and that affects their educational activities. So we are saying, as ICTs, as parents also, they should be watching what their students are doing as a parent.
Okay.
when they are glued to those telephones, when they are glued to their computers, etc. It is us parents who buy those equipment for them to their benefit. But however, there is misuse in other aspects.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. We would want to get deep into the conversation as we understand more on ICT. So normally we discuss the good side of ICT, and hardly at times we discuss more about the bad side of ICT, how young people have been misusing ICT and how people on social media have been exposed to different things that harm their health, not just their health, but also in terms of maybe their emotional intelligence, because they are being exposed to different things that are harmful to them as young adults. So ladies and gentlemen, you are watching the Legal Talk Show, proudly brought to you by Say What, with support from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. We are going to take a short break and we'll be back soon. Hello viewers, and welcome back to the Legal Talk Show, proudly brought to you by Say What, with support from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. And today we are discussing more on the dark side of ICT, and I'm being joined by two gentlemen as they help me unpack the subject matter. So as we were discussing about the bad side of ICT, you also mentioned that as parents, they don't have time actually to look on what their children are seeing on their gadgets. But I'd like to understand maybe more from your own point of view in terms of what has been your regulatory board doing in terms of addressing the issues that have come up with ICT.
Okay, thank you so much, Panache. You have been doing a lot, and you will continue to do a lot to ameliorate problems or challenges that are associated with ICTs. And if we look at issues of ICTs, and as portals, we support the deployment of ICTs to everyone. So one disadvantage is that there is what we call the digital divide amongst communities, urban versus the rural. Then there is also a digital divide against the poor versus the rich. So what it means is, if we have ICTs and the ICTs are only accessed by a few and others are left behind, for a regulatory board, for a government agency, it is really a challenge that needs to be tackled. So as portals, we have gone to various communities, setting up what we call community information centers, so that those people who are down there in the rural areas can access the internet, they can access various ICT equipment, be it issues of scanning, sending emails, etc. They can do that within the community information centers. Also, within the community information centers, there are training rooms where those students, or be it even adults, who do not have the requisite ICT skills can be trained so that they are at par with others. Also, we have got various projects in schools. We have e-learning programs where we donate as a government agency computers to various school computer labs, so that students there access ICTs, so that those who do not, who are unable to utilize, say, computers at their homes, they can utilize them at schools. Again, as portals, we do what is called base station redeployment. In other words, we make sure that the very remote areas of the country are having what we call basic ICT. You will be having a phone that is able to access a voice telephone, basic SMS, and also basic internet service, like say the third generation, where you can have basic internet services accessed from various points of the country. This is part of what, as a regulator, we are doing in order to make sure that there is no digital divide within the ICT world.
Okay, thank you so much for that. But I have a question. But first, let me ask him in terms of, as a student, how best are you refraining from the bad side of ICT? Because sometimes we are tempted, you go on social media,
Yeah.
there's a link, and you really want to open the link. So how best are you refraining from such as a student?
Thank you for that question. And also thank you for mentioning that at times, even when you say trying to study, because like these apps that we use probably to study, maybe as a book or just have a resource that you need to study. These are developed by developers who also want to make money, so they include ads in them.
Exactly.
And sometimes you reading school content and there comes an ad which might not be related to what you want, and these guys are good enough to put ads that they know that you are most likely going to click on. It might be something that you recently searched on Amazon, or it might even be pornographic content. So if you are not disciplined enough, you get distracted. So in terms of refraining, honestly, I would like to believe that it all now goes to the individual themselves to be disciplined enough. So it just takes discipline enough to probably set yourself a screen time that you know you abide by, so that at least you make sure that you are using the right amount, if there is a way of measuring what could be right amount of screen time per day. So I just believe this now has to do with the discipline, because even if, let's say, the powers that be, the guys that are in authority want to do something about it, this is a generation that is so tech savvy that they always find ways around if they want to misuse. So I believe somehow we now have to teach discipline, like from the younger generation, so that they know that yes, this is a good tool, they can use it for their benefit, but it also needs discipline.
Okay.
So yeah, for what you asked, I believe discipline is the only way to go, because people always find a way around.
All right, and thank you so much for that contribution. And over to you. There are so many young people that have access to pornographic materials. So I want to understand, you mentioned actually the good side of what you have been doing in terms of making sure that there is ICT everywhere in Zimbabwe, but also want to understand, are there mitigation strategies that are put in place to address the issue of them having access to maybe pornographic and other harmful material to young people?
What we are also doing as an authority in the ICT sector is consumer education and awareness. We tell these young people, once you have your photograph or your video which is pornographic, once it is kept from that private place where you kept it and it goes into the public domain, it's there forever. There is that, the digital print that you are living. So the best of what you should do in as far as that is concerned is never record, never take pictures of pornographic nature. Because the moment you lose them, the moment they go to, and they are spread via the internet, as an authority, internet is everywhere. We will not be able to retrieve them. Yes, exactly. There are cases where people will come, Potras, can you do something about it? No, it is beyond the boundaries of Zimbabwe. So the best approach is never record, never take videos, nude videos, etc. As young people, that's what we also teach. And also there is what we call the International Telecommunications Union. It has got what are called ITU guides for parents, ITU guidelines for industry, ITU guidelines for educators and so forth. For these guidelines, they are guidelines that are focused on child online protection. Yes, and also so those guidelines we also impart them to the industry. We impart them to education industry, and also we impart them to the various fora. And also we work hand in hand with organizations like Childline Zimbabwe or Zimbabwe Online Child Online Protection Zikopo. Those organizations, we work in them because they assist children on issues of child online safety. And we encourage even any person who has got the problems or the challenges of having been either being bullied or they've been abused somehow on the internet. Those cases should be reported to those organizations or to the nearest police station.
Okay, and it's also important and key that we also talk about cyberbullying as well. But I'd like to understand, because back there at home we have Vechidik who are still in, is it primary high school, and they are mostly doing them on internet, ICT. That's when they are getting all the information that they need to write their schoolwork. So I'd like to understand how best can they be spared from this bad side of ICT, because at the end of the day you can't tell them about discipline. They know nothing about discipline. So how best can we help in terms of addressing this challenge?
The best way to go is parents. They should monitor their children. Or guardians who stay with those children, they should monitor. See where the children spending most of their time, the sites we were spending most of their time at, and also working closely with the teachers at school. Yes, you know what? Even this issue you are saying, color schools, yes, they encourage people to research, pupils to research, but currently, I don't think the Ministry of Education has a policy that ICT gadgets are allowed in all schools. Yes, I think it's space. Each school makes its own determination. Some schools do not allow telephones, mobile telephones, gadgets in the school premises. Yes, some they do allow. Yes, so however, whenever there is a research, usually possibly they will do that for those schools who do not allow gadgets at their premises. It means all researches that are done via the ICTs are done at home. So parents, guardians should take care of their children. They see to it that what they are doing is correct. What they are doing is as per the assignment that would have been given by their teachers.
All right, and thank you so much for that. Maybe to you, there's a young person that is looking up to you in terms of you're in the ICT world, as you mentioned, and that they really want to know more about ICT, and they would want to get advice in terms of how they can use and maneuver in the ICT world. So what word of advice would you give to the young person that's looking at you right now?
Okay, I would like to say let's just use this to correctly. I think we did mention that it is a good tool. Yes, it can be used for negative effects, for negative things, but it is a good tool. So let's use it let's use it correctly. We're actually living through a generation that is so blessed to have these two. Right now I can even talk to someone who is abroad and I can see them. Right now, I'm not even limited to studying with people that I know. I can do collaborations with people that are in a different location. We can share material. Where like our parents used to maybe travel kilometers to go to a library, right now we have the information on the internet. We can easily access it. So many things that this tool has just made possible that were impossible back then. So I would like to urge everyone that if we could just look at this tool and just use it correctly rather than misuse it, it would do good for us.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And to you, what are your parting words to the audience, the people that are looking at you right now in terms of this subject?
Okay, when all is said and done, we are saying ICTs are there to stay. So we should continue to look at various ways that would mitigate the challenges we have with the usage of ICTs.
All right, and thank you so much for that. Yes, viewers, you're watching the Legal Talk Show, proudly brought to you by Say What, with support from the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe. My name is The Dynamite. By TikTok, time is no longer on our side. So from me, The Dynamite, and the crew behind the scenes, it's goodbye for now.